we just want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded. The meeting and also the chat will be recorded. So please make sure that your microphone is on mute if you are not speaking. And you can use the chat feature to ask any question at any time, okay? Our team will be sure to review the chat periodically. So, and without any further ado, I let you with Abby Chavez.
Hello, hello. I am Abby Chavez, and I am the chair for the Latino Leadership Network. And today we have a packed agenda. It's our first general membership meeting. So thank you guys for taking the time to be here today. As you can see, we've got the agenda up on the screen at the moment. And I am actually going to kick it off to our executive sponsor, the Director of Department of Veterans Affairs, Alfie Alvarado.
And good afternoon, familia. Thank you for being part of today's introduction to your Latino Leadership Network. I am Alfie Alvarado, and I am the executive sponsor. That means that I am the person that serves as an advisor. I'm a participant, and I do that gladly. And I'm also what's been called before the madrina for LLN. And I serve as an advocate to an amazing group of dedicated, smart, and high-speed state employees whose purpose is to offer Latino employees and their allies opportunities to excel. So I hope that today ends with you starting to get an idea of where you fit in this great and continuing developing organization. So have fun, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Alfie.
Thank you. Well, a lot of people have been wondering about the Latino Leadership Network. So let me just start off with telling you who we are. So I have been with LLN for about 2.5 years. And when I joined at the time, leadership was in the process of finalizing LLN's charter and bylaws. Many of you believe that LLN has only been around a couple of years. However, this group has been around for a long time. I just recently found out that it's been around since the 90s, which is actually really interesting. And from talking to the people that were part of the founders of this group, I came to find out that it was actually known as the Hispanic Women's Network. So this group consisted of female agency directors, management, frontline staff, and there were even a few men. There was even a newsletter called Oiga Comadre, so which I think we need to bring some of that back, just saying. But from there, a less formal group started to form, and it was either called the Hispanic Network or Hispanic Leaders Network, where they would share job announcements, and they would get together and network at El Zarape out in West Olympia. So as many of you know, as Latinos, we love to get together with friends and family and enjoy some amazing food. It's how we connect with each other. You know, we do birthdays, we do quinceañeras, weddings, graduations. Because it's Sunday and it's sunny, you know, we all just go out and barbecue or get together and just have a potluck. So for me, it was really, really comforting to know that that's how LLN kind of formed. It was over food. Eventually, those networking conversations slowly started to turn into planning sessions. And it was to start a group of Latinos that were in state government to help them connect and to provide that professional development trainings that are not always available to everyone in government for whatever reason, whether it's your position or, you know, the funds just aren't there. That is what LLN wanted to provide. And that group eventually turned into what is today the Latino Leadership Network. Today, we are still a group of Latinos who try to find ways to network. And of course, if we can do it around food, that's what we'll do. Granted, the last year has been a little crazy, but you know, this is our new norm and we are doing things virtually, and we are still striving to provide those Latinos in state government a place where they feel a sense of community, can learn new things that will help you in your professions, and also help you meet other fellow Latino state workers. So a little bit about our vision. Our vision is to connect and inspire Washington State Latino workforce and leaders of today and tomorrow, with our mission of being, through the power of connection, invest, inspire, and serve. With that, our purpose is to serve as a resource for OFNs, state HR, and state agencies in creating and sustaining a diverse and inclusive workforce. We want to increase LLN's effective and power to convene through branded leadership and sought after professional development programs, and achieve and sustain high member satisfaction and participation, and keeping people engaged and wanting to come back. Some of our accomplishments since we have formed have been the Best Practices Committee survey, which will be discussed a little later in today's meeting. LLN is known for our regular lunch and learn events. We used to have them at LNI. Our goal with these events is to provide members with speakers who come and talk about their own life experiences and provide encouragement, addressing overcoming obstacles, and to inspire and motivate those who attend. Some of our most notable lunch and learn speakers was State Senator Rebecca Saldana, who is the Washington State Senate Deputy Majority Leader and has used her experience to spearhead legislative efforts to increase equity and protect workers' rights. We've also had Chief Justice Steve Gonzalez, who is now Supreme Court's 58th Chief Justice. He is one that is passionate about providing open access to the justice system. And then, of course, we've had Lorena Gonzalez, who is the current president of the Seattle City Council and is running for mayor. She was the first Latina to serve the Seattle City Council and is nationally recognized as a civil rights leader. We've also done accountability group presentations, which was actually one of our first virtual presentations during the pandemic last year. And it was such a success. And I believe the recording is out on our YouTube page. And our Health and Wellness Committee has hosted 2 very popular webinars, which you could find out more from when, as we get through today's meeting. We have currently a few committees that carry out the work for LLN. And those are our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, Health and Wellness, Policy and Performance, Communications, and Membership and Outreach. And we want to be a group that can support our state agencies. We want to be a resource to management on how to make the workplace more equitable for the Latino community. We want to be able to share those job opportunities to provide a more diverse candidate pool. And of course, we want to provide professional development opportunities as well. So with that, I wanted to show you guys what our board looks like at the moment. Keep in mind, we are in the process of updating our charter and bylaws, and there's going to be a little bit of restructuring with this, but this is our LLN board of directors and our associate chairs. And so we will be talking a little later about the upcoming elections. But as you can see, we have a lot of opportunities for people to come and help us get the work out that we're wanting to get out. We can't do it alone. And with LLN, once you're a part of the group, you're familia. And that is what I hope people get from when you leave our meeting today. So with that, I am going to pass it over to the Director of Commission of Hispanic Affairs, Maria Sigüenza, to give a little bit of an update on the commission and just what's been going on, especially since we just had session is wrapping up now. So Maria?
Yes, indeed, session is wrapping up. And honestly, back in January, when it started, the middle or the end of April just seemed like such a far away date. And here we are, you know, time flies. So thanks, Abby, for all of that overview of LLN. A fun fact that you threw out there was that it started in the 90s. I had no idea. I personally have been part of LLN kind of at the tail end of when we used to meet at El Serape on a monthly basis, and had the privilege to join the group in formalizing a structure back when Alfie was executive sponsor, along with Uriel Iñiguez, who's a predecessor of mine. So it's a lot of work, and you guys are doing a wonderful job growing it and maintaining it and getting to a point where we only dreamed of getting 5 years ago. So thank you for all your hard work. My name is Maria Sigüenza. I'm the director of the Commission on Hispanic Affairs. I've been in state government, I want to say about 7 years now. And previously I worked in a few other agencies, DSHS being really my mother agency, where I've spent the most time and did a lot of learning. I was going to say most of my learning, but I don't think that's true now. The Commission on Hispanic Affairs is a small state agency. It's not super widely known across the state. It's more so known across our enterprise. And that's kind of by design. We were created 50 years ago. We're celebrating our 50th year this year as a result of the civil rights movement and labor rights movement of the late 60s. We think of Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta as individuals who fought the good fight down in California, but we also had our fight here, being an agricultural state. I don't have to teach you guys that. And as a result, in the early 70s, a group of Mexican-American stakeholders lobbied Governor Evans to create an official seat at the table, at the institutional table, if you will, that allowed Mexican-Americans at that point to have a seat at this decision-making table and be able to provide perspectives of the Latino community across the state. In the 80s, we were renamed to the Commission on Hispanic Affairs to take into consideration the fact that it's not just Mexican Americans that are here in Washington state. And so as we move forward with that lens, we take into consideration all of the various diversity that exists that is so rich within our Latino community. And so we do that with our commissioners. We try to make sure that we're having a geographic representation of the diversity within our state, of where Latinos live. And we also do that, by gender and different areas of work and expertise, etc. So our mission is to help with the development of policy at the state, and we're an advisory body, right? We don't have any accountability mechanisms. We don't have any direct power, only our power to influence and our power to build relationships and our power to come to the table with solutions-oriented work. And so we have that advisory capacity just to 3 entities. And I say just because, the state is a big entity, and so we're thought of as kind of a grassroots organization sometime, or, as an organization that provides legal advice. We're pretty narrow, but very broad in scope. We have capacity to advise the legislature, the governor, and state agencies. And so kind of with that in mind, I tell you, because if I were to just give you legislative priorities, it doesn't necessarily hit as well as if you understood kind of our role within the state. And so having said an advisory body, our AAG would be very happy if I were to say advising is different from advocacy. and way different from lobbying. And so that's very much from where you're standing as a state employee. We have to keep those rules of lobbying and advocacy really straight, because those rules apply to us as well as a state agency. So just to give you a little bit of context of how we really interact with the legislative session. We have 3 staff, myself included, and 11 commissioners. I mentioned them earlier on, that are appointed by the governor. They're volunteers, and Gov calls them the eyes and ears of the state. And so kind of based upon the information that commissioners mine, we form our work and we inform our legislative priorities. So this year, we started a different way of working. We created, just kind of from an institutional level, we created different committees for commissioners to group together, join the minds, and be stronger in their voice. And so our 4 committees are education, law and justice, health, and economic development. And I'll give you guys links to our website so you guys can take a look at this at a different time. But I'll give you some highlights in terms of what our commissioners prioritized during our legislative session. So there was a bill for education, Senate Bill 5044, and it required the public school system to prioritize one of the 3 professional learning days that teachers have to focus on equity, focus on cultural competency, dismantling racism within the public school system. And why was this important? Because that's actually not something that teachers are required to do at this time. It's kind of segregated in terms of how each educational system approaches their training. And so it's a huge milestone for us, because we know that training, while it might look a little bit different, so there's, you know, always room for improvement. Training in Seattle is going to look the same as in training in Spokane in terms of the topics that teachers are learning. And so we hope that with a little bit of this formality, we start moving the dial forward. Another highlight for law and justice is House Bill 1267. And 1267 is a House bill that was introduced as a response to the events that we saw last year with the death of George Floyd, and some deaths that we experienced here in Washington State due to police force. And so the governor last year created a task force on independent investigations of police use of force. And it included one of our commission, actually our chair at the time, and other commissioners from the state agencies, families of affected family members, and police organizations, along with general community members, and developed a completely new office that was going to be in charge of doing independent investigations of police use of force in Washington State. And so that bill has passed. Obviously, those recommendations were formed. They were packaged into a bill. It went through the legislative process and is now on Gov's desk for signature. It's a huge milestone, because we are now removing an element of policing police, which is something that not a lot of states can say they have done, and we will be a pioneer in this work. Another bill that I want to highlight for you is Senate Bill 5172. We really cannot stop doing the good work that really created the commission, and that is making sure that, of course, working with farm worker organizations, we keep uplifting their voice. And Senate Bill 5172 phases in overtime pay to agricultural employees that were not provided overtime pay in their role. It's a bill that was necessary, and actually a process that in California took years to pass through the legislative process. This year, there was a Supreme Court decision, there was a bill that was introduced, and it passed. And so that gives testament to our strong relationships, not Chaw's strong relationships, but our strong relationships in Washington state, and the strong advocacy that exists within our Latino community that we love to support and we will continue to support. So there's also with really great wins, there's also losses that really keep us working. And I'll give you a highlight. Senate Bill 5010 was created at the request of the Office of the Insurance Commissioner, Commissioner Kreidler, and Governor Inslee. And this bill prohibited the use of credit history when determining premiums for personal insurance, so home insurance, auto insurance, etc. There were other two kinds of insurance. And so the idea being that credit scoring isn't necessarily equitable. And it affects those who are people of color or those with lower incomes who are traditionally more so representative of people of color. And so it's time, it was time for us to take a look at how credit score was being used and banning it. And unfortunately, that's just a fight that we showed up to that we couldn't really quite surpass. Lobbying firms are very effective, we'll say. But it's something that Commissioner Kreidler and Governor Inslee have stated that they will continue to pursue. We will continue to join that fight as well. There was another bill, House Bill 1191, Equity in Healthcare, that broadened eligibility for Medicaid. As you may or may not know, eligibility for Medicaid is very specific. In Washington state, undocumented individuals are not eligible unless there is a very dire emergency situation. And in that case, they can tap into what's called alien emergency medical and go from there, but be able to have coverage under very specific circumstances. And so this bill would have broadened eligibility, and our current healthcare committee is really interested in keeping that conversation going so that we can get to a point where undocumented individuals who meet whatever eligibility criteria exist can be covered under our state funds. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for bills. I'm gonna go really quickly over a priority that we had in the budgets. One of our commissioners, Lena Alvarez, she's our vice chair, is from the Yakima Valley, is still very active and involved in that area, even though she's in Vancouver now. And she was part of a community group working with the city of Yakima to bring funding specifically to renovate a park called Miller Park. Miller Park was one of the very first parks in the Yakima area that was created officially. And it has been a park that hasn't been renovated in decades. It used to be a vibrant community center, a hub for that neighboring area. And part of the reason why we're so interested in this park is because it's in East Yakima. It's in an area where it's predominantly Latinos, and it's in an area where a lot of the residents there, about 50% of the residents, live below poverty rate. So it's a really important place for a community to do the barbacoas, the quinceañeras, have a good place to do some good family and community bonding. And long story short, we were able to secure in the governor's budget $625,000 to be able to add a bathroom. There's no bathroom there. So when the kids go play soccer, they have to go use an alley, to have a new playground, to do all sorts of things to revitalize this budget. We got to work because it was in the governor's budget. We got to work in educating our Senate and House leadership on why it was important to have this park renovated and why it was important to have those funds. And along in partnership with the governor's office, we were able to secure about 625 in the House and about 640 in the Senate. So we're waiting for the compromise budget to figure out what that final dollar amount is. Keep your fingers crossed that that still remains in the budget. But that is one way that our commissioners still make sure that they're doing right by their communities. And this is a perfect case example. So we've got, I want to say maybe a week and a half left of session. Cross your fingers that we don't go into special session. Sine Die is on the 25th. And so with that really long-winded update, I leave you guys with questions. Do you guys have any questions for me? Anything that was unclear or just any general questions?
It looks like there's one in the chat. Are there bills that fail to make it through the session that we should know about?
Yeah, I talked about two of our priority bills. So the credit score banning and the equity and healthcare bills that did not pass. And I will definitely link our watch list or our legislative priorities page for you guys to peruse, but there were plenty of bills that were on our watch list that, you know, didn't even make the first cutoff in February. So yes. So I'll take Alfie's. That's a really good question. Aside from being a commissioner, how can members of the community connect to CHA? That's a really realistic question that we're right now grappling with to make sure that community members can reach out to their individual commissioner that's closest to them, which can or may not work, right? But I think the most functional way to interact with a commission is to participate in committees. What that looks like, we're building it kind of from the ground up. As I mentioned, this is the first year that we are working in committees, and that's really where we're going to be able to incorporate the voice of our community and helping shape how we do, as any other agency, set priorities for the governor's priority list the following year. So if you guys are interested, reach out to me and we can chat about how to best incorporate you if you'd like that.
Maria, there's a question from Juan. I don't know if it says, are there policy or other issues, priorities that CHA and LLN will or are partnering in?
That's not something that is in concrete. So I will say that there have been conversations in the past about partnering around HR issues, or I should say, how do I word this? Issues within our Latino workforce that we can make recommendations to state HR. That's better worded. And so I'd be happy to partner. That would likely be a home office, meaning me and staff initiative. But depending on what the recommendation is, you know, it's something that we can get the weight of the commission on as well.
And I will speak to LLN for that question. And as state employees, we have to be very careful about our stance on certain legislative issues. There is guidance out there that OFM can provide. So as much as we would love to partner on some of these issues, we have to remember that first and foremost, we are state employees and we are ultimately representing the agencies that we work for. So that doesn't mean that you may not be able to do it on your own personal time. But as far as LLN doing it, it's something that we would have to make sure that we are coordinating with OFM to ensure that we are following the proper protocols.
Thank you, Abby. Diana Avalos has a question for Maria. Does CHA have a list of Latinx coalitions from around the state?
We don't have an official list. So what we've found is that coalitions do come and go. We do work very, I shouldn't say closely, but we work very often with the Latino Civic Alliance, and a fun historical point for them. They're a statewide organization as well. They're an advocacy organization, but they were originally a brainchild of some commissioners of ours back about 20 years ago. So there is a strong collaboration there, I think, because of that historical context. And it's a really good idea to keep those relationships with those community coalitions, because that's really where we get expertise, right? Communities are experts in their own issues and needs. And so, no, we don't have a list. We can think about that, but like I said, it ebbs and flows, and there's a lot of changes that we don't necessarily have the staff time to upkeep.
Thank you, Maria. Let me see. Okay, Diana, I don't know if you can see that. She says she served in CHA as a commissioner in the early 2000s.
Thanks for your work, Diana. It's always really great to see who has been part of the commission in the last 50 years. It's been a lot of people.
All right, well, if no more questions for Maria, we will go ahead and then get to the next portion of our agenda, which is our LLN committees. These committees are truly the ones that get the work out, get it done. And I cannot say enough good things about everything they have done. You know, we are a small group at the moment, but just a lot of the work that they have been able to roll out, even in the pandemic that we've been going through, has been incredible. So with that, I will pass it on to our first committee, which is the Health and Wellness Committee.
Thank you, Abby. Hola, mi nombre es Indira Melgarejo, and I lead the LLN Health and Wellness Committee. And as Tony Greer will say, my day job is with the Department of Enterprise Services at the Procurement, Inclusion, and Equity Program. Now, with LLN in this Health and Wellness Committee, our focus is on a preventive way to approach wellness and to approach health. I believe that before leading others, you will need to learn how to lead yourself. Mm-hmm. And to help you to lead yourself, we are focusing on 4 topics, okay? And Ruby, if you can please change thank you so much. And these are our 4 topics. One is mental health, recreation, exercise, and nutrition. For mental health, the idea is to be in the best version of ourselves, to have a deep knowledge of our inner self. And how do we do that? Well, we have had a couple of webinars that are available in our YouTube channel for you to use on demand. And there are more webinars in the future. For nutrition, the nutrition is that fuel that keeps us going, that help us make better choices. Also, food connects us with ourselves, but also with our community, with our roots, with our family, right? With our traditions. We have a potluck scheduled for the end of the year. So by the end of the year, hopefully that we are going to be able to see each other in person and in a closed space. For recreation is, taking a break, stress release, or relief and have fun. The idea is to have fun, and there are many ways to do it. One way is, one of the ways that we are working is we are partnering with the Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission. And we are partnering to bring you activities designed to connect with the beautiful nature of our state. And Michaela Croin and Jeff Pasayo are leading this initiative, and they are part of the Park and Recreations. For those who prefer more indoor activities, we will be having Cineforo. And this is a project led by Noemi Solorzano Thompson. She's with DES, and where we will meet to discuss Latinx movies. And finally, exercise. The idea is to increase endorphin happiness and live longer lives. So today, we are launching our LLN Wellness Challenge. And this is a project led by Larry Delgado, also from DES. And I will let you with a video to share this initiative.
Hola familia, my name is Larry Delgado. I am the DEI Development Manager with the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services and a member of the Latino Leadership Network. I am working with LLN Health and Wellness Chair Indira Melgarejo to bring you great news around a new initiative to help you get or stay motivated about your health. When I turned 40 years old, I decided to start running marathons. It was my way of trying to outrun Father Time and maintain a healthy lifestyle. After I retired from active service from the U.S. Army, staying physically active was a lot harder.
Larry and I would like to propose you an idea. Through a friendly competition to stay healthy with us.
We have created an LLN fitness group using the Under Armour Map My Run app. This free downloadable app allows you to track your workouts, whether it's cycling, running, walking, swimming, or Zumba.
Each month, we're going to show you or present to you a new challenge with a new Wellness Challenge from LLN. We hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruby. So yes, today this is our first attempt of the videos. I mean, of a video showing you this wellness challenge. So we will follow up with you in our newsletter with all the instructions on how to participate and engage with us in this friendly competition. And also, if you have any idea, if you have any project, if you have a project that you would like to lead in these four topics, please feel free to reach out, send us an email at lln@ofn.gov, and we can connect and partnership in different ways. So that's it that I want to share with you today, and I'm open to any questions. Okay, Peloton riding tag. I like that idea, Ruby. Mm-hmm. Truth to be told, I'm not exactly sure about how to do that. Maria, how do we get involved in the Parks project? That's a great question. So the way that we are communicating is using our newsletter and using our social media. So the first step that we are taking is, mostly because of the COVID restriction, right, is we're going to start with sending you a video of our first hike that is going to happen this weekend. And this, what we're going to do is we will have guided hikes, okay? We will have a ranger that is going to guide us through this beautiful nature that we have in the many parks that we have available in the state. And once we have more ability to get together, and I say ability because of the COVID restrictions, then we will post these opportunities to meet in the park using our newsletter. So we will say, this is the day and time, and everybody is welcome. We are right now, as I say, we were starting with the project with a video, and then one of our goals is by September, hopefully again that we are able to meet in person in large group, we are going to do a big hike, but also more than the hike is a network event. So we hopefully for the Hispanic Latin Hispanic Heritage Month, we're going to be able to have that event. Ernesto, the difficult level, okay. So we will be able, each hike is different. So our first hike is like an easy entry level, is 1.4 miles. And the terrain is pretty even. So when we send you the information in the newsletter, we will inform you about all those details. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Noemi. Yes, Noemi, you're asking if the challenge will count towards Smart Health challenges. Yes, so we are partnering with Smart Health, and the idea is for you to activities that you do with this with our challenge also count towards the Smart Health challenges. And Monica, yes, there is a link to sign up for the newsletter, and Victor just sent that to you. Thank you, Victor. Okay, and I think feel free to ask more questions and reach out to me or to us, the team. And now we're going to our other committee. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rafael Lozano, and I am a member of the LLN, and as a member, I do outreach and membership. And it is one of my favorite things to do. As a matter of fact, I work for the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs as a full-time job. And that's what I do for the agency, Outreach and Community Partnership. So it's right in line of what I do. I like to sell, you know, a product. I believe in the LLN product. And it is a wonderful thing to get involved with, and a very easy, you know, thing to get involved with. It's a network. Later on, we're going to be talking about a little bit more about where LLN can take you and what you can give to LLN. The professional development is at the core of what I try to sell. I myself, I've been with state employment for 23 years. And with the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs for 9 years, and it's been build up of my professional development, and it all had to do with me getting involved. Right, you have to get involved to become a member of our network. Is very simple. You are. Right now, you are taking those steps. There are very, very simple steps to take. And later on, we're going to be talking a little bit more how you can, you know, get yourself into where you can commit down the road. I want to use myself as an example. I've been with LLN for 3 years now. And it took me 2 years to really find that niche, find that place that I would, you know, say, okay, I want to commit. I know that if I take this on, I can follow through and deliver for the organization, for the network. And so I took it on last December, and it's history. I mean, it is something that is in my blood, and it's something that is taking things forward. What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to jump right in, you know, and commit yourself. We're not trying to sell you a car, you know, we're not trying to sell you a home. So it's, if you want to take baby steps with us, you know, do that. There's ways to get involved. There's different types of, you know, membership. We have members at large if you want to continue in that way, or if you want to commit yourself and become a voting member, a voting participant. My committee is only one, that's me, and I'm here presenting to you because if you want to get involved, this is what you are, thank you for changing the slide. This is what you are going to be looking at as far as professional development and contributing to the LNN. You're going to help me monitor membership, attendance, and presentations, and manage logistics, you know, for general membership meetings. Build partnership with the state agencies to recruit members and make LNNs opportunities known to the state, you know, employees. And that's the niche that I'm trying to you know, get into, get that word out, get that motivation to get our fellow Latinos to look into this resource and look at it as a stepping stone into their professional development. And of course, it's something that is what I do most right now, develop membership campaigns, recruit events, and support LNN's presence at state and other events where LNN can promote recruitment. With that said, how do you reach us? I saw a few of those questions earlier. Don't forget, we have a LinkedIn page. You can join that LinkedIn page. If you want to talk to me, if you want to reach me, I monitor that page. We also have a Facebook page if you haven't, if you didn't know, or if you haven't liked us in that page. And of course, you can sign up for our newsletter. Are there any questions for Rafael? And I see that Victor has posted some information about the links, LinkedIn and Facebook. That's great. Thank you, Victor. No questions for Rafael? Okay.
There is one. Is there an application to fill out?
There's no application to fill out. But down the road, if you want to chair a committee, if you want to get into a position, that's the carrot that I put in front of you at the end. We're going to be talking about elections and about full-fledged membership in LNN. There's semi-formal at this time. I would say semi-formal application process for a specific position that you want to take. Or create, by the way, or create. We're small, you know, we're growing. We're in a developmental stage.
All right, thank you, Rafael. There's one more question and then we will move on. How can one help if we can't chair due to childcare needs?
Oh, there's many ways you're going to be finding out through the rest of our presentation. You know, where there's a will, there's a way, and there's more than one way of doing things, and there's more than one way to get involved. So that is a pretty broad question to be asking, but if you really want to get involved, we can find a place. I mean, this is a family. Esta es la familia de nosotros. Así que lo que podemos hacer, lo hacemos.
All right, thank you, Rafael. And now policy and performance with Marta.
Thank you, Abby. Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos. Mi nombre es Marta Arana. Good afternoon, welcome. My name is Marta Arana. I work for the SHS in the Developmental Disability Administration. I've been with the SHS for about 5 years, almost 5 years, coming up in August. And I started coming to the Latino Leadership Lunch and Learns. It's been about 4 years ago, and I can now emphasize enough how happy I was to find this group. When I find out through a newsletter about the Latino Leadership Lunch and Learn, I was really excited because I'm like, I'm gonna go and talk to other, family, Latinos. I'm gonna be able to speak Spanish, and nobody is gonna be, looking at me and saying like, "Are you talking about me?" So I was really excited, and I'm really happy that I started going little by little. I didn't start like fully going into all meetings or all the lunch and learns, but I was consistent. I was going to the ones that I could go to, and I started being more active, I believe, ending of 2019, and then I've been active since all last year. And today I'm gonna be talking about the policy and performance. You can go to the next slide. Within the policy and performance is the best practices subcommittee. The purpose of the best practices subcommittee is to increase the representation, visibility, and inclusion of the Latino workforce. It is also to identify policies and practices that can create better outcomes for the Latino state residents and employees. We have provided guidance and feedback for projects like the HR, state HR and on business resource groups and the Department of Licensing, customer-centered writing guide. Our goal is to partner with subcommittees in other BRGs, also to research, identify, collect, and evaluate practices and their outcomes currently used regarding inclusion and equity for Latino employees and customers. Next slide. The Latino Leadership Professional Development and Inclusion Survey is our latest project, and it was, we created this survey to learn about what the workplace is like for Latinos in state agencies, and it ran in December 2020 for about 2 to 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact time. And we wanted to find out about professional development and inclusion. In professional development, we wanted to know the perception about career development and advancement. Another important point that we wanted to find out is if bringing your authentic self to work has some type of effect on your professional development or in your workplace. And we still, and that was one of the main, in this professional development, I was more interested in this one because I have seen this throughout my career where sometimes for some reasons, being your authentic self can have negative effects on others. Also inclusion, we wanted to find out the treatment of Latino customers and employees, and also the awareness level of business resource group. And the most important topic, or at least for me, was to find out about the types of or levels of discrimination that Latinos are facing. Next slide. And just to, about the survey responses, we're still finalizing our survey report, but here are some of the highlights from the findings. The survey received a total of 459 responses. So you participated in the survey. Thank you for your participation, really appreciate it. The Latino represented 56% of our responses, or 257 responses. Overall, the state is an employer of choice, but we did find areas where more training and inclusive practices could improve the workplace for Latinos. One of the things that jumped out was that experiences around discrimination as you can see here, it's 71%, 43% of Latinos felt they had experienced discrimination because they're Latinos, and 71 have experienced insensitive or offensive comments because of their race or ethnicity. We didn't ask what kind of discrimination people experience, so it could be everything from microaggressions, like little comments we experience, all the way up to harassment. We weren't able to clarify that, but we do recommend that the diversity, equity, and inclusion training should be universal, more inclusive of Latinos, and include topics like microaggressions. Also, throughout the survey, when we use the word Latino, we are using it as inclusive of all genders. Some respondents may identify as Latino, Latina, Hispanic, Latinx, Afro-Latinx, Chicano, Chicana, or other similar identifiers. We do recognize identities are complex, and the survey intent was to inclusivity and honoring the diversity of Latino backgrounds. Next slide. On the other important thing we found in the survey is the majority of Latinos feel it is important to have a sense of community with other Latinos, to have the sense of familia. As I mentioned, this was one of the biggest reasons I decided to go to the Learn to Learn. When as I say, when I found out about the Latino leadership, I was really excited, and I asked my supervisor if I can go. And I kept going to the Lunch and Learns, and I wanted to be part of the mission, and I wanted to do more. So I decided to join the committees, and I decided to do more. So that's one of the reasons that I that I joined it, because I wanted that connection. I wanted to meet other people, and I'm really happy that I did, because I have met wonderful people, and I do feel that sense of community, that sense of like treat each other like family. Next slide. So what are we doing with this data? As I mentioned before, we're still finalizing that information that we received from the survey. But so far, we have already been sharing this information with our partners at OFM and at the Department of Enterprise Services. We hope that it can help inform their training and strategies. We have also recommended that every state employee receive DEI training and education, and also that every agency informs state employees of the business resource group during their onboarding, and also encourage them to participate. One of the goals of the best practices subcommittee is to provide development opportunities. This means that we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work you can help us with and provide real work experiences. So if you want to be part of the finalizing that survey, or be part of making any changes, or if any of the survey results impacted you and you want to be part of that change, you are welcome to join the best practices subcommittee. And on the next slide, we will have the contact information. So if you have any questions or you want to know how to join the committee, you can contact the chair, which is Tony Griego. He couldn't be here today, but you can direct any questions about the best practices subcommittee to him. That's all I have. I don't know if we have time for questions or we go to the next committee.
You have a question? Do you want me to read it, or can you see it, Marta?
Go ahead.
Is there a reporting system or process of reporting employees who make racist comments or are being discriminatory?
So I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know if anybody members can Ruby can help out, or Abby, if you know, answer to that question, or where to direct. But as I said, I will check these questions and ask Tony. He might have an answer, and then we'll get back to you. Okay.
Most of, if there are situations like that that occur in your agency, you want to make sure that you're following your agency's policies and procedures. And it starts with your HR. It starts with management. You can go to HR, and then from there, you can take the necessary steps. Should you not feel comfortable being able to do so, I know Flora, she's with OFM. She is on this meeting as well. I'm sure that she would be another great resource that can help you get that addressed. But always, 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 please start out with your own agency's policies. All right, any other questions for Marta? All right, any other questions that are put into the chat, we will answer after the meeting. So feel free to keep putting them in there. Somebody is monitoring the chat. Up next, we've got Jovita Ramirez with Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
Yes, and my co-chair, Steve Kammerer, looks like he made it. Are you here, Steve?
I am.
Your name pop up. There you go.
I am.
Okay. So I'm Jovita Ramirez, and I'm the DEI subcommittee co-chair along with Steve Kammerer, and I'm with, I probably pronounced his name wrong. I work with Healthcare Authority in the Office of Tribal Affairs. I've been with the state for over 20 years now, and I was raised in Eastern Washington in Yakima, so this is something that is very close and dear to my heart. And so I hope that we can probably not answer some of your DEI questions, but maybe get you thinking about some of that stuff and how, if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us. We will have contact information at the end. And I just wanted to share that we've been putting on some lunch and learns around DEI and how we can help state employees with that. And the next one is on May 6th at noon, and it's going to be sharing information on boards and commissions and how we can put the word out and learn how you can maybe participate or learn more about the boards and commissions in Washington State through the governor's office. So with that, I will have Steve go to the next slide.
Thanks, Jovita. So I am a recruiter at DES. I've been here for, I think, about a year. And I'm also from Yakima. So I'm also, Jovita and I both representing Yakima. And DEI has been something that's been, I've been interested in DEI before I knew what DEI stood for. But then I learned that we had DEI when I came to DES and really dug in and said to myself that it was time to quit book learning about it and start sharing with other people, start trying to get people involved. And especially of all the things that have happened in the past year, it's more important than ever that we get educated on DEI, that we become more inclusive, that we have representation more. So we really do, we would like to have people join us in our DEI subcommittee. We meet every other Tuesday from 10 to 11. Did I say that correct?
Yes, and I was just typing it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Yep, it is, currently it is, we're doing everything Zoom, so 10 to 11 every other Tuesday. as we said here on the slide, we develop and provide DEI tools, resources, and training opportunities, highlight and celebrate lived experiences, and provide platforms to facilitate conversations on race, ethnicity, and other DEI topics. So we are a place where we'd like to facilitate learning. And then, as Jovita said, we've been putting on some great lunch and learns. And I have just some rhetorical questions for people. Do you have an interest in making Washington more inclusive? Do you wish to join a fantastic group of people in our aim to increase membership of LLN? Do you have the skills related to event planning, research, policy, networking, public speaking? Maybe you've done it a little bit, but you want to develop those skills. I know for me, being in state government, this is the biggest thing that keeps me so engaged, is getting to develop these skills that being outside of government, I'd never had the opportunity to be a part of boards, committees, subcommittees, anything like that. So it really does give you a chance to put things on your resume. With us here at LLN, we have our subcommittees. Find one that you're most interested in, jump in and use those skills, and you'll find that it actually it makes your experience with state government even more. I mean, it's great to say that you're a part of the state of Washington to make things better, but this will do even more and heighten it even that much more. So we really do. If you want to know anything more about us, what we do, what we're planning in the future, anything like that, if we'll go to the next slide, we have our contact information. There we go. We have the OFM address, and then we have Jovita's, mine, and Martha's email address. And you can shoot us an email. We'll be happy to invite you to one of our meetings, answer any questions, and we'd love to have you be a part of us, join us for a meeting, and decide whether you'd like to be a part of our subcommittee.
Yes, and I am sorry, I forgot to mention that Marta Arana is also in our committee. She kind of wears a lot of hats, but she presented today, so we didn't put her on the spot with our presentation.
And that reminds me, Jovita, that I'm sorry I didn't get to hear best practices, but going over the survey, I think this really speaks to DEI. The survey results we saw speaks directly to DEI issues. And we have some areas where we can get a lot better. And I think that in our subcommittee, we can address those things head on. And we're not going to solve anything overnight, but we can jump in and tackle, and we can start to educate and create a better Washington. And
I wanted to end before we take questions with the fact that you don't have to be Latino to join. And
look at me.
We would appreciate representation because I think a lot of people have that misconception sometimes that you have to be Latino to join the Latino Leadership Network, and that's not the case. So we are always welcoming new members. So just reach out to one of us with any questions, and we will take questions now. I see that some stuff on the chat has been people that are interested in joining us, so yay. I will reach out to you, or you can reach out to one of us. But if anybody has more questions, you can go ahead and ask them or put them on the chat. Oh.
Wait, it looks like we have a question about when our next meeting is.
Yes, I was going to say that's a good question. I think it's
You just sent one over to me.
Yes, I just sent it over, so I can send you an invite. But I think we had to reschedule it this week to Thursday, I think. But I will send you an invite.
Yeah, we actually have one this Thursday from 2 to 3, outside the norm.
We try to do them on Tuesdays, but sometimes with the schedules and stuff happens, we have to move them, but we try for always Tuesday at 10.
Perfect. And I do want to just let everybody know that we will also, with these new membership meetings, we will also be making time during these meetings for those committees to meet so that it's not taking up a lot of your workday. And just please make sure that you get that okay from your supervisors to participate, just so that, you know, you've done your part and that way we can go ahead and move forward. All right, moving on.
Julie, I got your email. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And now communications and marketing with Victor.
Hello. Very great to be with all of you today. I'll start by just telling you briefly about myself. I've been in communications for about 20 years. I was previously a newspaper reporter and a copy editor. Then I had my own communications consulting business in Seattle. And then back in 2007, I started working for the state as a communications consultant 3. And today I, excuse me, I manage a collaboration website for the State Department of Health. I have been supporting communications for LLN since 2018. So I feel like I've been so privileged to meet some great people across the state enterprise. And in my role, I also feel like I've helped hundreds of people participate in our activities, make connections, find out about career opportunities through LLN. So it's been very, very rewarding. Next slide, please. So our committee, Communications and Marketing, has some huge responsibilities. We do communications so that people can know what LLN is about. I feel like the communications work is like being a lighthouse for ships that are looking for safe passage. The first bullet is huge, you know, it's not really capturing all that responsibility there. We're always in need of communications that explain why LLN exists. What is it about? We get that question all the time. And the answer is constantly evolving. So we have to create informative material that, next slide, please, just to show material that supports our committee activities. And these are just some examples of things that we've prepared. And there's so much more that just simply supports explaining what LLN is all about. Next slide, please. So these are some of the tools that we use. We have our newsletter, our social media accounts. We have a web page that's hosted by the State Commission on Hispanic Affairs. Our LinkedIn has been a very powerful way to connect with not only state workers, but professionals in a wide range of fields who are themselves Latinos, or they are definitely allies to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our YouTube channel, it's modest but mighty. Most of our videos receive at least a few dozen views. But last year, one of our videos picked up more than 450 views. So we've got some power there that I think is gonna grow. Our newsletter has consistently been a strong tool. It reaches hundreds of subscribers with each issue. And it's there not only for sharing information about our events, we occasionally share community events and community needs. If you happen to receive this week's, we mentioned that United Way of Thurston County was looking for Spanish-speaking people to help at COVID vaccination clinics. So I'm hopeful that that helped our broader community in a big way. And so we try to use the power of that newsletter as broadly as we can. And it's a great way of sharing about what other Latino organizations are doing. When we hear about it, we want to share it in our newsletter. And a big resource is sharing job notices. I can look at the analytics of our newsletter and I can see that one of the most popular links in our newsletter are always our job opportunities. So, and I love knowing that we are informing our people about opportunities to advance in their careers. Next slide, please. So to do all this and to do it well, we need people with communication skills, or at least people who are willing to learn. I would like to pass the baton on to someone who can bring a fresh perspective to our communications. As a communicator, I know that having a fresh set of eyes to your material can inject more creativity and quality to the work. So if you're interested, we would love to hear from you. It would, if you would like to get involved, but maybe you need a smaller role, there is plenty to do, let me tell you. Maybe you're great at interacting with people online and you could be our lead in managing activity on our Facebook. Or if you have an interest in putting the newsletter together, or learning graphic design or videography or photography, we can use those skills to enhance the quality of our material. And you would be adding to your own resume big time. LLN is on my resume, and the material that I've created over the past 2 years are part of my portfolio. So, you know, keep that in mind. And, you know, isn't that great that while you're helping others, you're strengthening your own skills and, you know, learning from each other in so many ways. So there are some of the things that I've listed here. And I believe Martha also mentioned that we could use some support with the report that we want to do about our survey. Kind of summarizing that, proofreading it, putting it in a nice presentation. So I'm mentioning these as examples of you don't have to necessarily commit to attending lots of committee meetings or take on something that's going to take hours and hours of your time. There's lots of little tasks that, you know, when you put them together, they help us hugely. And like I said, you know, I've been in this role a couple of years, and I feel like I'm sure that there are people out there who can bring fresh perspective to what we've been doing. And that's going to help us grow. It's going to help us attract even more people. So please keep that in mind. So I did want to share, I'm going to share in the chat a little bit more about us. This is another piece that I've worked on to give you a sense of who we are in terms of your board members, and hopefully help you see a connection. We're sharing about ourselves, and I'm confident that you're going to see something in yourself in the many ways that we described our backgrounds and where our passions are. So with that, I'm open to questions from you attendees. I'm also going to share in the chat, again, our links to Facebook, LinkedIn. That's definitely a great way to help our organization grow, because that's how people find out about LLN and can get involved. I know of board members, people who are super active today. We met on LinkedIn and they became engaged. We've had professional speakers reach out to us, and then they turned around and offered our general membership a workshops that were super valuable. those have slowed down because of the pandemic, but I've just been so excited at how those social media link connections ended up benefiting our members.
Victor, can you see the chat? You got a lot of stuff.
Okay.
You're popular.
Okay, great.
If you can't,
let's see. There goes the links. I also included YouTube. So join our channel. We posted the fun video that Indira shared earlier for the fitness challenge, and we want more of those. We want to do more videos that help people just kind of engage, at least in that way. So someone asked the question. I'm going to probably read them backwards up since it's first one that I can see. From Juan, what are your biggest gaps and needs to assist in your work? It really is kind of a wide variety. Like I mentioned on the slide that you can still see, someone who can support with graphic design, someone who might have some experience with gov delivery and can put together the newsletter. So it's a wide range. We would love to do kind of video interviews of our members and share stories. So videography and photography could be huge. So it depends. It really depends on where. And I like to think about it in terms of what's fun for you. What's your interest? Maybe you don't get to do graphic design in your work, but you've always had an interest in it. And you don't have to be skilled with years of experience if you're willing to kind of learn as you go. So that's the kind of group we are. We're all volunteers. So just bring your passion and your interests. Let's see. Someone has sent a LinkedIn request. So yeah, we will definitely connect with you that way.
So Jane Montes Hall says she's a former journalist, copy editor, and newspaper designer, and she can help you in a smaller level.
Okay, great. Good to know. We're reaching out to you.
That's some great skills.
Yeah, and like I said in the chat, throw your emails in what committee you want to participate in. We are going to be saving all of that information and reaching back out to you guys.
The question about the job listing process, we use our LLN at ofm.wa.gov email address to collect those job postings, and then we share them in the next available newsletter. We get a lot of requests to share job postings, but I am sensitive to not diluting people with emails from LLN. So sometimes the job posting, they sunset, they close those job postings, and we haven't had a newsletter in time to share that. So there can sometimes be a disconnect between when we receive a job posting and when they go out. But if the timing works out, we absolutely share those in the newsletter. One of the things that I tried to do, because I was aware of how popular the job postings were, was to have a secondary newsletter. So there'd be one that's news focused and one that's just jobs. But I have a pretty demanding job. So it was difficult to do yet another newsletter on top of the one that was providing everybody with the news about our events and meetings. So that would be a great help, to just have maybe someone willing to put together a jobs one. Let me see, make sure I captured all the questions. It looks like I have. Wait, I'm seeing I have 7 new messages I haven't seen. Some email addresses coming in. So looking forward to reaching out to you folks who've responded that you're interested in helping, or perhaps taking the lead. Do take a look at the our social media sites when you get a chance, and the documents that we've shared, our org chart and our bios for board members. So again, feel free, if you think of a question later, to reach out to us. Our board shares that email address, that lln@ofm.wa.gov. So we're able to be responsive that way, because as a group, we can monitor those messages. Does the communications committee meet regularly? It does not. It's until recently, it's been a person of one, so I haven't had a need to set up meetings. But to Abby's point earlier, we're going to start to have these membership meetings monthly, so you'll know when we, as all our committees, are meeting, because we're going to meet. We're going to use this time to meet. But we can also set up one-on-ones if there's a particular task that you're willing to take on, and I can kind of talk you through how we do what we do.
All right.
Is that the last slide? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I guess it was.
Yep. So now, one of the things that we have gotten a lot of feedback on is making a time to network. And so we're going to break you guys out into some breakout rooms with our facilitators. And one of the things that we really hope that you'll get from is know what you want to see from LLN. What is it that you want to see? How can you help? So with that, we will break out for the next 15 minutes. You will get a notification when the breakout room is going to close. You'll have 60 seconds, and then you guys will all be brought back here for closing announcements and an announcement on our elections. So have fun.
Oh, we needed more time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It is never easy to gauge like when is a good time to end networking sessions, but I hope that you guys found value in that and got to meet other people and were able to provide us with some awesome stuff so that we could continue moving forward. All right, well, so one of the things that I want to talk about, and I've mentioned at the beginning, was our upcoming elections. I have been the chair for about the last 6 months, and I could not have done it without the support of not only Alfie and the rest of the team, but my predecessor, Juan Alanis. He was the chair when I joined LLN. He helped spearhead getting the charter and bylaws approved with OFM and making us a legit BRG. And he has been a great resource and mentor in terms of taking this role on. So Juan, thank you. We really appreciate all that you have done for LLN. With that, we do have elections that we hold annually, and the positions are the chair and the co-chair positions. Those are the only two that we include in our elections process. Everything else is an appointment. So if you are ever interested in a position like that, feel free to message me and we can talk some more. But in terms of the requirements, so for nomination requirements, you can be self-nominated or you can be nominated by an active member. And you also have to be an active member of LLN. So what is an active member? An active member is a state employee who not only attends regular meetings, and I don't mean you have to attend every single meeting. No, it is, you know, your presence is there. You're helping one of the committees consistently, especially over the previous 6 months. That is how we know that, number one, you're committed to the BRG. And number two, you know the goals and the direction that LLN is going in. And I think that is very important in order to take on one of these leadership roles. So as far as voting requirements go, again, you must be an active member and you must have started being active with LLN no later than 6 months preceding the vote. So next slide, please. The timeline. So this month is the announcement for the elections. Nominations will be submitted to our elections facilitator, which will be announced. And then that facilitator will then contact those nominees to confirm that nomination. In May, nominees will have to communicate with their supervisor to make sure that they are supported in accepting this leadership position, because it can get a little time consuming. And that is something that if you have questions about, we are more than happy to answer for you. Nominees will also compose a brief bio and express and announce their interest in the position they were nominated for. And then our executive sponsor, Alfie, will announce who the nominees are at our May membership meeting. In June, our facilitator will use an online survey platform as a voting mechanism, and candidates will be listed in the survey, and that survey will be sent out to our active members. And then let's see. I think that is it for elections. If there are any questions regarding the elections, please throw them in the chat and we can get those. There is no application process to joining LLN. So it is basically, if you are interested, feel free to reach out, chat with us, and we can then figure out where would be a good fit. If you are interested in a board position, like Victor had mentioned and Rafael had mentioned, there is a little bit different process because it is an appointed position. And so we want to make sure that the right candidates are in those leadership roles. And Victor, do you mind sharing the survey for everybody? Because it's in a private message.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our next slide. So like we said, this was our first general membership meeting. Our next meeting is May 11th from 3 to 5. And of course, it will always be on the second Tuesday of every month from 3 to 5. And I hope to see you guys there. So thank you guys. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us and learn a little bit more about LLN. So have a wonderful day and enjoy the sunshine.